paragraph comprehension. So remember, everybody, when it comes to paragraph comprehension, and actually I'm not going to say remember, I'm just going to ask you openly. When it comes to paragraph comprehension, what piece of advice would you give someone if this was their first time dealing with paragraph comprehension questions? What piece of advice would you give to someone who's doing this for the first time? Go ahead. Read the question first. Wow. I'm not surprised that it was the first 12 things that people typed out. Okay. Read the question first. I like that. I like that. I like that a lot. Let's go ahead and keep thinking here. What's something else that we could give as advice? And if you want to use the mic, just raise your hand and I'll call on you. But what's another piece of advice besides reading the questions? Ooh, be the author. I like that, Kaylee. Read it like you're the author. I agree with that 100%. If you take the approach of trying to intentionally sound like the author, chances are you're going to pick up on the mood, the style, the tone of the passage. And if you can pick up on the tone of the passage, reading it as if you wrote it, then you are much more able to point out some of these little context clues that'll really give some things away. So I like that. I like that a lot. Pay attention to the root words, or I would say keywords there, Mario. Yeah. Let's see. Read until it makes sense I would say for quote questions and next sentence questions, right? For sure. Reading the answers first, that would be for sequence of events questions, I would say. Let's see. Underline details. I like that. Finding the keywords. I'm looking for something specific. And I don't think I was very clear in my question. So when it comes to paragraph comprehension, what advice would you give in terms of bringing in knowledge that you already have? What kind of advice would you give if someone says, hey, I want to go ahead and use what I know? Don't. I love it, Jasmine. Don't. No, don't do it. Don't do it, right? You are receiving the information from the passage. You cannot bring in assumptions that you already know. That is not what you can do. You have to rely on the passage itself to make your decisions. One more time. This is paragraph comprehension, not historical comprehension. Yes, there are some things that are obvious about life that we can bring in. Yes, that's going to happen sometimes. But you are not bringing in historical facts or things that the passage doesn't mention. You are not going to bring it in and be like, yeah, that's obvious, cool. No. There has to be some sort of justification in the passage. All right? That's what I was going for. So with that, we're going to go over 3 main types of questions today. So I prepared a set of 5 brand new questions for us today. Thanks to Arshina. Shout out. Whoop, whoop. And so we're going to go ahead and go through these 5 questions. Now, I'm going to be very honest with you. It's very likely that we'll be done before, or we'll probably be done with those 5 questions before class is supposed to end. But if we're going to be ending a little early, I will stay behind and answer any questions that you have. If you guys want to talk about anything, I got you. So with that said, inferencing factual questions are the first type of question. I know a lot of us already have these notes already set up, but if you don't, let me go ahead and get my big head out of the way so you can take a screenshot if you'd like to. So please take that screenshot now. That way I don't break my neck. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Oof. All right, cool. So with that said, take a screenshot and just look at it like that. All right, cool. So with inferencing factual, in all seriousness, these are questions that are all about picking the answer choice that is supported by the passage. So typically you have 4 choices. 3 of them are not supported by the passage. 1 of them is. That's the one you want to pick. There are other types of questions that are inferencing factual, like what's the main idea? According to the passage, what can be implied about this? And another version, the exception question, which is, oh, the author implies all of the following except this right here. And so you're looking for the opposite. You're looking for the one that is not supported by the passage, and 3 will be supported. We don't have that today, so it's all good. But the strategy here, again, is to use the passage to eliminate the answers that aren't supported, and then pick the answer that is directly supported in the passage. Next type, quote questions. We didn't get to do this last week, but we will get to one this week. So quote questions, we have to interpret the meaning of a given quote. So everybody, for the love of God, the first thing that you should not do in a quote question is what? Or, so excuse me, actually, for the love of God, for the love of bacon, for the love of everything that is dear, for the love of Chipotle, however you want to phrase it, what is the one thing you should not do with quote questions? That's correct. You should not read the answers first. You should not. When it comes to quote questions, we need to understand the quote to the best of our ability. I don't know why I'm holding this. We need to understand the quote to the best of our ability before we look at the answer choices. The answer choices in quote questions and next sentence questions over here, they are designed to trick you. If you do not know what the passage is talking about, the main idea, the tone, if you don't know that, you're in a bad position. Stick to the passage as long as you need to. You get at least 2 minutes per question for paragraph comprehension. So do your thing. Do your thing. Read the paragraph, read the passage twice, 3 times if you have to. Try to read it in the tone of the author and have some fun with it. Have some fun with it. All right. So with that said, let's go ahead and have some fun. So take a picture of this if you need to, if this is one of your first classes here again. But with the next sentence, what you're doing is you're choosing the best sentence to add into the passage. And the strategy here is understanding these 3 core, properties. The sentence that you pick that's correct is typically going to be relevant to the passage. It's going to build on the last sentence, and it's also going to preserve the tone of the passage. So what does relevant mean? Look, relevant means it basically keeps the main idea. So it keeps the main idea. Build on the last sentence, quote unquote. What does that mean? That basically means adds some new form of information. Well, that would be happening. All right, sorry guys, if I do lose connection here, there is lightning striking in the area. Obviously, just going to give you guys a forewarning now. And then next, preserve the tone of the passage. So basically, keeps the same vibe, keeps the same emotional context there. So this is not terrible here. Yeah, I'm really hoping that this doesn't strike my building. I'm gonna be pissed. It's the last day of the week. So preserve the tone of the context pretty much means, again, the vibe is preserved. The emotional context is still there. So this you can get away with not entirely looking at, but these 2 things are absolutely imperative. Keeps the main idea and adds some new form of information, but it still sticks to the main idea. All right. So with that said, my party people, we're going to go ahead and get started here with the first question. So with that, everybody, typically in the ASVAB, what you get is 2 minutes. What I'm going to give you today is I'm going to give you 2 minutes and 30 seconds. I'm going to give you an extra 30 seconds here to collect yourself and take a guess if you need to take a guess. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes and 30 seconds. All right. So with that said, my party people, 3, 2, 1, let's go. Hope you're enjoying watching so far. As a reminder, we do have a free class once a week that I do want to make sure you get into. Typically they're on Mondays, but go ahead and click the link here to see the schedule for all the classes, and you'll see that again, there's a free class once a week. And if you've already seen how I teach and you enjoy it and you want to learn more about my program, then go ahead and shoot me a text, 567-698-8867, and say, hey, Coach Anderson, this is blank, and I want to learn more about your program. So go ahead, either sign up for the free class or ask me about the program so you can keep boosting your score and get that job you deserve. Again, let's ace the ASVAB. Let's get to it. Do it now. Let's go. in starting here, we got to read the question. So according to the author, what can be used to describe the relationship between Google and internet usage? All right. So shout out to Arshina for pulling in some of the most unique facts that we can find. This is a true story. And I don't know if I told you guys this already. I think I did. But every single paragraph comprehension passage that we create that has data or has like a historical context to it is factual. Every single one is factual. So you can learn new things while practicing for the ASVAB. Cool. So here we go. On August 16th, 2013, Google was unreachable for 5 minutes. In that short time, the global internet usage decreased by 40%. So I'm going to go and pause this again because I did something wrong here. Notice how, yes, I did read the question first, but what I didn't do was follow up and identify any sort of strategy that I wanted to use. That is another wrong way to go about it. Remember, everybody, having a plan and sticking to that plan is much, much more rewarding and easier to do and less stressful than just kind of going through the motions and hoping that it works out. So the proper way, yes, read the question, but actually understand what the question is asking you to find. What can be used to describe the relationship between Google and internet usage? So describe the relationship between Google and the internet, or its use, internet usage, excuse me. But do you see what I'm doing there, everybody? Yes or no? Does that make sense? Not just, oh, read the question first, but actually comprehend what the question is asking you to do. Cool. Sounds good. Sounds good. And that's right, Arshina. If the answers are short enough, yeah, we can absolutely read them as well. Because this isn't a tone question, a quote question, a next sentence question. This is inferencing factual. So when you look at the choices, comparable. So Google and the internet are comparable. Google and the internet are affecting. Google and the internet are synonymous. Google and the internet are negative. So their relationship, when you check out those four, you can just think about comparable as, hey, you can compare them. You know, they have a lot of things in common. Affecting, that would mean that one affects the other. Synonymous would mean that they are one and the same, basically. Negative, meaning that they have a poor relationship with each other. So let's go ahead and read the passage. Let's see what's up. On August 16, 2013, Google was unreachable for 5 minutes. In that short time, the global internet usage decreased by 40%. This fact shows how important Google is and how it is still relevant today. When people cannot easily search the web for what they're looking for, people make less use of the internet. Ooh, let's read that last sentence one more time. When people cannot easily search the web for what they are looking for, people make less use of the internet. And so, does it sound like, in a way, that global internet usage slightly depends on Google? Yes or no? Does it sound like that's what's happening here? Yeah. And so if one thing depends on the other, which word here from the answer choices makes the most sense? One depends on the other. That means that it is affecting the other. Exactly. One affects the other. When Google is down, that affects global internet usage. There's an impact there. And that's why B is the answer. Affecting is the answer. All right. And so, I mean, it makes sense too when you think about the passage, because I think the majority of people who use Google, I think maybe a small percentage of people besides that maybe use Bing. And then, my grandparents still use Ask Jeeves. But I think besides that, I think, that's pretty much it. So, yeah. So here we go. Other answers, though. Why are the other answers incorrect? So when we think about, starting from the bottom up, negative, I mean, no, it's not purely negative, because when Google's up, things are great. When Google's down, things are bad. So it's not a purely negative thing. It's just that there's a correlation between, or causation between, Google being up and the internet usage being up. Google being down, internet goes down. So it is a cause and effect kind of relationship. No, it is not synonymous because they are not the same. Google is part of the internet. It is not the internet itself. And then comparable. So with Google and the internet, this passage does not make any sort of comparisons between the internet and Google, more than it shows an affecting relationship between them. So B is a much stronger candidate than A, even if you were considering A to begin with. So yes or no, does the answer make sense even if you got it wrong? Because that's what's most important. That's what's most important. Even if you got it wrong, do we still have a good idea of why the correct answer is? Sounds good. Let's check it out here. Number 2, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. 2 minutes, 30 seconds. Oh, according to the passage, what can be implied about group singing? Okay, so what can be implied about group singing? So I look at the answer choices right now and I see that they're all complete sentences. So I'm going to forego, or I'm going to avoid reading these answer choices. I'm going to go ahead and actually go straight to the passage. All right. So with that, let's go straight here. Singing by yourself is actually quite soothing. It raises your spirit and mood. Nice. And I think I know that. Shower singing. All right, cool. So more notably, group singing provides numerous physical and emotional benefits. Okay. It's the most exhilarating of all types of singing. When you sing with others, the body releases feel-good hormones like oxytocin and reduces stress-causing ones like cortisol. All right, cool. Sounds good. So basically, before we get into the answer choices, you can start off with the answer choices right away if you want to. It's inferencing factual. You're going to go back and forth. But if I'm looking at this, I may want to read the passage just one more time, just to go through it, just to make sure I didn't miss anything, and just to understand the main idea here. So singing by yourself is quite soothing, raises spirit and mood. Cool. So singing by yourself, raises spirit and mood. Sounds good. More notably, group singing provides numerous physical and emotional benefits. Okay, so we start off with single or singing alone. Then group singing has benefits physically and emotionally. And it is the most exhilarating of all types of singing. When you sing with others, the body releases feel-good hormones like oxytocin and reduces stress-causing ones like cortisol. So we give a scientific approach to how beneficial group singing is. Maybe that'll come in handy. Who knows? But you want to be detailed in your approach to paragraph comprehension. So let's go ahead and look at the answer choices here. Let's see which one is supported and which one is not. So let me write this down here. Not supported. And then I'll write supported. So here we go. A, singing in a choir is more beneficial than singing solo. All right, so let's ask ourselves, everybody, is that supported by the passage? Singing in a choir. Everybody, what is a choir? What is a choir? A group of people. Group. I was hoping for one more. All right, but yes, we get it, group. So if we're thinking about a group, let's substitute that in there. Singing in a group is more beneficial than singing alone. Is that what the author has been saying the entire time?
No, sir.
No. Let's go ahead and see what's going on there. Let's see. Okay. Singing by yourself is actually quite soothing, raises your spirit and mood. More notably, group singing provides numerous physical and emotional benefits. So more notably, group singing provides physical and emotional benefits. Let's highlight that real quick. Singing in a group, more beneficial than singing solo. Singing by yourself, more notably, group singing, numerous physical and emotional benefits. Do we have a case here? I think we just did. Even if we thought no before, I think we might have a case now. But even if you don't agree with me, I don't need you to. because I'm going to show you how B, C, and D could be right or wrong. Let's see. Let's just take a very honest approach. So next, B, you can increase the benefits of group singing by singing with a bigger group. All right, sounds good. So let's just all go ahead and start singing, In the Jungle by, with the Lion King theme song. If we have 5 people, let's go ahead and make it 500. Let's go ahead and do that. Does that sound like it would increase the benefits? Maybe, but does the author support this? Does the author imply this? Yes or no, everybody? Does the author imply it? Does the author give you reason to believe that the size of the group matters? Hey, Tari, I got you. You're good. So yeah, that's right. No, the author does not give it away. The author does not tell you that a group of 7 is better than a group of 3. It does not say that in the passage. And so everybody, is B supported or not supported?
Not supported.
Not supported. Not supported right there. Okay, so I cannot say that that is an answer. C, singing alone does not provide physical and emotional benefits. Okay, does the author imply or say that singing alone doesn't provide physical and emotional benefits? No, C's wrong. C's flat out wrong. The first sentence gives it away. First sentence right here, singing by yourself is actually quite soothing, raises your spirit and mood. Spirit, mood, aren't those emotional? Yes. And so, boom. D, singing alone and group singing are incomparable. By yourself, Jackson, by yourself. And so here, singing alone and group singing are incomparable. That means that you can't compare them. The entirety of the passage is comparing solo singing and group singing. So yeah, no, that the entire passage is doing this. And so here, not supported, not supported, not supported. So even by a process of elimination, we can still see that A is the answer. Right there, and check. You see that? Right there. It is implied, the author does imply that group singing is more beneficial than singing alone. So honestly, I want to see how many people I can gather and really sing the Lion King theme song. I sing it in the shower every day. We'll see what happens with the group. So with that said, let's go ahead and get ready to tackle this next one. 3, 2, to make sure any questions got answered here. Cool. And again, if you have any questions, please let me know. I'm more than happy to help you out there. All right, 3, 2, 1, let's get it. Oop, and I will make myself smaller. Don't worry. We'll go ahead and start. Which of the following sentences would most likely come next in the paragraph? So everybody, what is the absolute wrong thing that you should do here? What's the wrong thing that you should do? Or wrong thing that you shouldn't do, actually?
Read the choices.
Right, read the choices. Read the choices. So here we go. We're not going to read the choices. We're going to read the passage. So Chris Hadfield, a Canadian astronaut, released his first ever music album. This would be an unworthy mention if the album wasn't recorded while he was in orbit. Hadfield spent 144 days at the International Space Station recording his 11 original songs for his appropriately titled album, Space Sessions, Songs for a Tin Can. So let's go and read that again here. Let's read that again. So Chris Hadfield, a Canadian astronaut, released his first ever music album. Okay, so we're talking about Chris Hadfield. We mentioned that he's an astronaut, and we talk about the music that he produced, right? So far, the main idea kind of sounds like we're talking about Chris Hadfield's music astronaut career kind of thing. Okay. This would be an unworthy mention. What do you mean an unworthy mention? Oh, he released his first music album. That would be irrelevant, basically. That would be not worthy of mentioning if the album wasn't recorded while he was in orbit, meaning he was in space. Okay, cool. So his music career and his career as an astronaut are kind of intertwined here. So we're talking about Chris Hadfield, the astronaut and musician. Chris Hadfield, the astronaut and musician. Are we starting to see what's going on here, right? Next, Hadfield spent 144 days at the ISS, the International Space Station, recording his 11 original songs for his appropriately titled album, Space Sessions, Songs for a Tin Can. So again, even in the last sentence, do you guys notice that every sentence captures the following? Chris Hadfield, his career as an astronaut, and his career as a musician, blending those three things. Chris Hadfield, the astronaut and musician. Chris Hadfield, the astronaut and the musician. Do we see that, everybody? Yes or no? That every sentence does that. Perfect. So here's the thing about next sentence questions. You have to pick the best option. While some choices might be attractive, we really have to qualify them as the best choice. So here's how we're going to do that. We've already identified the main idea of the passage. Chris Hadfield's career as an astronaut and musician. All of those are intertwined. Space, music, Hadfield. Space, music, Hadfield. So a relevant sentence would basically contain those elements. Chris Hadfield, astronaut, music. Chris Hadfield, or space and music, or songs, or something like that. So let's go through the choices. A, also, he was the first Canadian to walk in space. Is that a good answer or a bad answer, guys? Yeah, we would say it's a bad answer. We would say it's a bad answer because one, this is America. So I don't care about a Canadian. Two, jokes. But two, this is a left turn. Also, he was the first Canadian to walk in space. Notice how, I mean, Angela, you can step out. I mean, it should be pronounced Canada, but I'm just gonna stop right there. I'm joking with you guys. So the thing is, A is a bad answer for the reason being that it kind of takes a left turn. Yes, we do talk about Chris Hadfield, the astronaut, but we're mentioning an idea that kind of comes short of remaining relevant and furthering the story. Because remember, the story is about Chris Hadfield, the astronaut and musician. We kind of cut off the musician part of things and just move forward with the astronaut side of things. And that's, yeah, that I wouldn't call this a terrible answer, but it's certainly not the best that I could probably find here. So for right now, we're going to go ahead and say A is a no. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at B. Let's see if that's any better. Surprisingly, Hadfield is actually a talented musician who, before this, went viral with a cover of David Bowie's Space Oddity. Okay, so let's see if, let's quantify this one. Surprisingly, Hadfield is actually a talented musician. Okay, talking about his music. Before this, went viral with a cover of David Bowie's, so another musician. Space Oddity has to do with space. Okay, so are we relevant to the main idea? Chris Hadfield, astronaut, space. Hadfield, music, or excuse me, astronaut, space. Space and music. So Hadfield, music, space. I think this is a strong answer. I think that this is an acceptable answer for right now. So for right now, I'm going to underline B. I'm not going to circle B. I'm going to underline B because I'm basically saying that, hey, this is a good answer. Let me find out if it's the best answer, but it's definitely a good one. Definitely a good one. Next, as of now, Hadfield has no plans of returning to space. Okay. Hadfield, music, space. Hadfield, space. Where's the music? Where's the music? Where's the music? So I'm not going to trust C as a strong answer. It's not stronger than B because B, Hadfield, music, space. And so if I'm looking at D, February 9, 2021, Virgin Galactic announced that Hatfield would be joining their space advisory board. Okay, so Hatfield, space advisory board. But what element are we missing here? Music. No music there. And so if we're talking about the best, if we're talking about the best candidate, that's going to be, for me at least, B. And that is the answer here. That is the answer as given. But remember, it is all about being relevant to the story. So basically encapsulating that main idea, like I said. So up here again, remember, has to be relevant. So keeps the main idea, build on the last sentence. So add some new form of information. And so when we think of this, boom, B captures that because we have talking about Hatfield. We're talking about him as a musician. And then a cover, so basically singing a song, so it's more music stuff. And then over here, Space Oddity, a song about space. Okay, cool. All three coming together there. That's the only answer in which all three of those come together. And so I'm going to say, hey, that's my best answer. There it is. So where are we at right now with this one? Do we still hate next sentence questions? I would assume yes. But do we understand the approach we took to get to the answer that we got here? Cool. Cool. Also, quick question, everybody. So I'm starting to make more posts on Instagram. I'm going to be posting videos of problems and more questions with math problems. Should I also include paragraph comprehension questions in some days that I post? Yeah. Okay, cool. Cough, cough, Arshina. All right, sweet. So with that, here we go. Coming up next, 3, 2, 1, let's go. Which is the claims supported by the passage. All right, sounds good. So we see here that this is directly saying, yo, this is an inferencing question. Which of these is supported by the passage? This is a moment where, honestly, I would read the answers first. I would read the answers first here because they're basically saying, hey, which of these answers can you find in the passage? That's basically what they're saying. So I'm going to read these choices. Tadpoles cannot avert their stomachs. Don't know what the hell avert means, but whatever. Okay. Tadpoles cannot avert their stomachs, whatever that means. Frogs voluntarily brush their stomachs off after averting them. Okay, sounds good. It sounds like at some point I'm going to have to learn what the word avert means. Okay. But yeah, so tadpoles cannot avert their stomachs. Frogs voluntarily brush their stomachs off after averting them. Stomach aversion is necessary for frogs after they ingest toxins. Instead of digesting food, frogs will avert their food. Okay, so it really sounds like we need to know what the word avert means. Next, pay attention to the other clues in each answer. So what I mean? So tadpoles cannot avert their stomachs. Frogs voluntarily brush their stomachs after averting them. Stomach aversion is necessary for frogs after they ingest toxins. Instead of digesting food, frogs avert their food. So again, the main commonality between each answer choice, I think we can all agree, the word avert. I have no clue what the word avert means right now. As a student, taking this, I have no idea. But what I do know is that I can look at the context clues next to the word avert and see what each of these might be kind of getting at. And so for answer choice A, we see that it says tadpoles here, right? So tadpoles cannot do that thing. For B, it says that frogs voluntarily brush their stomachs after doing that thing, averting. C, it says that aversion is necessary for frogs if they ingest toxins. And then D, instead of digesting food, they do that thing, averting. So let's go through the passage now. Here we go. Fully grown frogs have the ability to avert their stomachs. Oh, wow. Wow. So let's read that again, guys. Fully grown frogs have the ability to avert their stomachs. Now, why didn't they say frogs? Why did they have to say fully grown frogs? What does that imply, everybody? What does that imply? For
That
us to
babies can't do it.
Ooh, Felicia, you are 5 for 5 today. I mean, it's maybe like 3 or 4 for 4, but I'm gonna give it 5 for 5 today, girl. 5 stars today. Yes, take a look at that, everybody. Why would they go out of their way? Why would the author go out of his or her way to say fully grown frogs? Because you are specifying, exactly, you are specifying the characteristic for a certain type of frog, or a frog in a certain state in its maturity. Yeah, fully grown frogs can do this. That implies that kids can't. So it's like saying, hey, students or people 21 years and older in the United States can drink legally. What does that imply? It implies that 20-year-olds and younger cannot drink legally. You see what I'm saying there? You know, we need to think about what the word imply means. And it means we pay attention to details, because if they are specifying a characteristic or quality in one thing, that means that they are implying that the other part of that group doesn't. And so since we're saying fully grown frogs have this ability, that means that the lesser matured version of the frog, or a tadpole, does not. Everybody, am I making sense? Yes or no? Yeah, cool. Sounds good. I'm glad. Because that automatically makes the answer A. Automatically. The answer is A. And I can prove to you why B, C, and D are incorrect. B, frogs voluntarily brush their stomachs off after averting them. Here's where that's wrong. So, fully grown frogs have the ability to avert their stomachs. This means that their stomach comes out of their mouths, turning inside out to dump the contents of their meal out. I'm hoping you're not eating something right now. So, this means that their stomach comes out of their mouths, turning inside out to dump the contents of their meal out. Following this, the frogs have a hardwired neurological response. Everybody, does that mean that it's voluntary? Hardwired neurological response. Does that mean voluntary or involuntary? Does that mean they do it because they want to, or they do it because it's a reflex? Involuntary. Involuntary, right? It's all good, gang. It's all good. We're going to make mistakes. It's all good. Tadpoles are not fully grown frogs. Tadpoles are the baby versions of frogs. So that is involuntary. So that's why B is incorrect. B is not supported right here. Voluntarily, not voluntary. It's not voluntary. C right here. I'm going to say C, this star right there. Hardwired neurological response. C, let's take a look at there. Stomach aversion is necessary for frogs after they ingest toxins. Everybody, go ahead. I'll give you a couple seconds here. Go ahead and point out where the word toxin is stated in the passage. I'll wait. Oh, I don't see it. And you don't either. That's right. The passage does not mention toxins. Does not mention toxins. Let me go ahead and just circle that right there with I'll do purple. Not mentioned. It's not even mentioned. Not even mentioned. Exactly. You can't see it because it's not there. Next, D. Ingest, or instead of digesting food, frogs will avert their food. Okay, so notice how, yes, frogs can avert their food, because you see right here, it does in fact say, let me use a different color here. Let's use blue. Yeah, I already used blue. Let me grab a different highlighter. Let's go ahead and grab, I've used pink in a couple sessions. So dump the contents of their meal out. Yes, that is That is stated. What is not stated is instead of digesting their food. Does it say that instead of actually digesting their food, that they avert their food instead? No, it doesn't say it. It doesn't say that they do that instead of digesting. It doesn't say like, oh, every time they try to digest, they avert it instead. That's not mentioned. That's not mentioned. And so I'm going to make a very good point here. So B, C, and D are out. Now, even if you're looking at A and you're thinking, okay, how the heck are we supposed to know what tadpoles are? That's a valid response. That's a valid concern. Valid concern. But we are still able to eliminate B, C, and D. So even with that, a process of elimination with an inferencing factual question will still get us the appropriate answer. So there are two fronts that you can always engage in to get a confident answer when it comes to these types of questions. One, being able to point out exactly which answer choice is supported by the passage and why it's supported. And two, can you eliminate all of the other answers as invalid? If you can do both, then you can have a pretty confident answer. If you could do one or the other, you can have a safe answer. And if you don't know either, then you might be taking a guess. So, yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair, right? That is fair. If we don't know what tadpoles means, that's fine. And just trust that on the ASVAB, they are going to expect you to have a fundamental standard level of knowledge. And so a tadpole, maybe it will appear in the paragraph comprehension, maybe it won't. Somewhere you will expect to know it, general science. That's somewhere where you will absolutely expect to know that if it comes up. So there's that. So again, even if you didn't know what tadpoles are, you could use a process of elimination. Right on, David. I like hearing that. Cool. And Marcos, let me know if that response addresses that for you. And so Danielle, yep, A is supported because, again, a tadpole, whether you know it or not, you know now, a tadpole is basically a baby frog, okay? We'll call it that. So it's basically what a worm, or excuse me, what a caterpillar is to a butterfly. A tadpole is that to a frog. In a very different way, because amphibians, insects, I know, but in a way, that's basically what it is, just a baby frog. So kind of like the same way where you have a calf and a cow, you know, or a, I'm just gonna stop right there. I'm just trying to find all these different examples, but you get what I'm saying. It is a baby to an adult, tadpole to frog, or fully grown frog. So fawn to a deer, exactly. That's what I was looking for there for the next one. And so that's the idea. Joey and kangaroo, right on, Arshina. So there are certain levels of basic knowledge that we do want to have under our tool belt. And by basic knowledge, I don't mean like, oh, you're dumb for not knowing it. That's not what I mean. I mean that there are certain things that they will expect you to know going in. And so D isn't the answer. No, hey, you're good, Janice. Good question. So D is not the answer because they don't say that the frogs avert their food because they don't want to digest it. That's all. They have the ability. They have the ability to avert their stomachs. Having the ability doesn't mean that they do it every single time without even thinking about it. So instead of trying to digest their food, they just avert. No, that's not what they're saying. Cool. Glad that makes sense. All right. So with that said, I think we got one more here. Yeah, we got one more here. 3, 2, 1, let's go. And this is the last question of the day. Let's make it count. So what does Hemingway mean? We're talking about a quote question here. And because we're talking about a quote question, we got to make sure that we understand the strategy. Read that quote, read it again, maybe another time, maybe one more time after that. Do I get it now? Maybe read it one more time. Let's see what we can get. So here we go. There is nothing to writing. There's nothing to writing. So when someone says that there is nothing to something, they're basically saying like, you know, this is easy. So there's nothing to writing. All you do is sit down at a typewriter and bleed. All you do is sit down at a typewriter and bleed. Now, that may sound, if you take it literally, I mean, it kind of sounds like this person hates what they're doing. If we try to take this literally, but this isn't a literal thing. Most quotes are not literal. Most quotes have an underlying meaning, right? And so let's think about it. There is nothing to writing. All you do is sit down at a typewriter and bleed. So, everyone, when you are writing with a pen or typing something, here we're talking about a typewriter, what material typically goes on the paper to make the words? Starts with an I. Ink, right? Ink. So typically, when you're typing something out, ink is what's supposed to go on the paper. But ink wasn't used here. The word that was used here was bleed. Okay. So again, if you take this literally, you might be looking at B. Use your blood as the ink for your writing. That is not what Hemingway is saying. That is not what Ernest Hemingway is saying. This is a literal interpretation. So it would not be B, all right? It's not B. When you think about where your blood comes from, oh, you sit at a typewriter and bleed. Typically, I think we can all agree that your heart pumps blood. Oh, what is Ernest Hemingway actually saying? Oh, pour your heart into what you're writing. Pour your heart into this. Fair or false? What does that sound like to you? Fair or false? Yeah, that's a fair assessment there. Because again, there's nothing to writing. All you have to do is sit down and pour your heart out. This is almost like a little bit of a sarcastic kind of thing here, too. There's nothing to writing. It's pretty easy. Writing's pretty easy. All you got to do is just pour your heart and soul into it. This is a pretty sarcastic quote. And I don't think I've actually heard or seen this in context. I'm actually like literally evaluating this with you guys like in real time. So Arshina, I'll turn it over to you. Is what I'm saying accurate or inaccurate?
Yeah, it's definitely a sarcastic quote, and it's like meant to be dramatic. Like it's saying there's nothing to writing. All you do is sit down and bleed. Like it's like intense. It gets intense just from the word blood. So you're having to sit here and, decipher why is it getting so dramatic and what does it actually mean. So it's not going to be literal because of that.
Booyah. Thank you. And so with that, yeah, writing is not simple because we were being sarcastic with that. And then writing is a noble task. Noble. Oh, because of the blood? Because you're giving blood? No, that's not, you're not actually giving blood. You're just giving your best, or giving your all and putting out your best effort every single time. And that's why C is the correct answer. Hey, I hope you enjoyed the first half of this recording. And if you want to watch the full recording, the full version of this, and every single class I've ever done, then go ahead and consider joining my ASVAB All-Access Program. It gives you access to 24 hours of classes per month and every single recording I've ever done. And on top of that, you get to text me whenever you need help and get thousands of extra practice problems to work on whenever you want, 24/7, with video solutions to the math questions. That way, you can keep growing, get the score you want, and that job you deserve. I'm Coach Anderson. I have a master's degree in teaching, been doing this for over 10 years, and it's my passion to help people succeed just like you. So let's go ahead and lower the test anxiety. Let's go ahead and get rid of the blanking out feeling, all of that, and really replace it with true confidence that we can take into test day and get the results that we want. So again, get the ASVAB All-Access Program or shoot me a text if you have any questions about it. But there is a video on the page with the link. So watch that video to see how it works. Or again, shoot me a text right over there. There's my number. That way you can learn more about it and truly understand that this is about helping you succeed and our community here to help you enlist. So again, sign up now, get started, and get the score you want. Let's get to it.